Hello, everyone. On behalf of the Real Estate Council of Alberta, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all of you and thank you for taking time out of your day to join us for our information session about getting licensed. As you can see from the agenda, we'll be covering a lot of information today. Due to the large number of attendees, the chat feature is disabled and all participant microphones will remain muted for the duration. When we have concluded our presentation, feel free to ask us any general questions by inputting them into the Q&A dialog box. We'll respond to as many questions as we can before wrapping up in about an hour. Today's presentation provides general information about eligibility, education, and licensing requirements and processes. If you have questions about your specific circumstances, we ask that you contact the Registration Services team by phone or email during regular business hours to discuss them. Our contact information will be provided at the end of the presentation. We'll be emailing a copy of this presentation and a recording of the information session to all participants. With that, let's get started. All members of the Registration Services team are RECA brand ambassadors, and we strive to embody RECA's values. We aim to protect, inform, and elevate through all of our day-to-day interactions with applicants and licensees. Our goal is to surpass RECA's service excellence principles as we carry out our important function of vetting applicants and their credentials. RECA licenses and regulates three distinct but related industries within Alberta: real estate, mortgage brokerage, and condominium management. Anyone who provides these services to consumers in Alberta must be licensed through RECA. An often overlooked but important distinction to make is that property management and condominium management are different areas of practice. In fact, property management is a sector within the real estate industry. Condominium management is a separate industry altogether. If you want to be licensed in one of these industries, you've come to the right place. There are three primary phases in the path to getting licensed: the eligibility phase, the education phase, and the licensing phase. Depending on your circumstances, you may have to complete all the steps in the education phase, some of these steps, or none of them. We'll cover all the information you need to know about the three phases as we get further into the presentation. Before you get started in the first phase, eligibility, we recommend that you carefully review the eligibility requirements that are applicable to your circumstances and ensure you can meet them, as your application fee is non-refundable. If you have determined that you meet the eligibility requirements for your particular circumstances, you can get started by creating a MyRECA account and completing the first-time login process. The answers you provide in the first-time login process will guide you to the correct eligibility or labor mobility application. Complete the relevant application and pay the application fee. Once you have completed payment, you can begin uploading your identification documents. Contact any third parties that will need to send documents to us on your behalf. The first phase you must complete in your path to getting licensed is the eligibility phase. You must meet certain eligibility requirements before you can enroll in and complete pre-licensing education or have your non-Alberta license recognized through labor mobility. We'll cover these requirements in depth over the next several slides. It's important to note that there are different requirements depending on your path. Let's dig in. All applicants must meet the first eligibility requirement, which is to provide proof of their identity and ability to work in Canada. RICA is mandated to protect consumers and the integrity of the industries we regulate. Registration specialists employ rigorous identification measures to ensure RICA achieves its mandate. The first identification document that all applicants must provide is a profile photo. Your profile photo should be clear, face-centered, and should not obscure your identity. Keep in mind your profile photo will be visible to RICA staff and your future broker. The second identification document applicants must provide is a copy of source identification, such as a birth certificate, PR card, or proof of Canadian citizenship. This document contains your full legal name and is the name that will appear in your MyRICA account and on your future license. If your source identification document does not contain a first name, your MyRICA account and future license will not include a first name either. You cannot substitute a passport for the source identification document. Passports do not always contain a person's full legal name. Applicants must also provide a copy of one piece of government-issued photo identification, such as one of the documents listed in 1C. If you've had a different legal name previously, you must disclose this in your application and provide proof of this name. The second eligibility requirement that all applicants must meet is proof of English proficiency. Licensees must be able to practice proficiently in Alberta's official language. RICA's minimum English proficiency standard is successful completion of English 30 in high school or equivalent. If you completed your education in Canada, you can request your high school, college, or university to send your transcript directly to RICA. If you didn't graduate high school but received your GED, you can request Alberta Education to send it to us. If you completed your education outside of Canada, you can have your international high school, college, or university transcript assessed by a member of the Alliance of Credential Evaluation Services of Canada and sent directly to RICA. Not all members of ACESC include the language of instruction in their assessments. Your assessment must state that the language of instruction for your course or diploma or degree program was English. If you're unable to provide a Canadian education transcript or an assessment of your international education, you can have your English assessed by one of the institutions listed. There are minimum scores that you must meet for each of these tests, and your test must have been completed within the past 3 years. The third eligibility requirement, proof of completion of a minimum of high school or equivalent, applies to new licensees only. If you hold a license in another Canadian province or an international jurisdiction outside of Canada, this requirement does not apply to you. If you are a new licensee applicant, not a labor mobility applicant, and you completed your education in Canada, you can request your high school, college, or university to send your transcript directly to RICA. If you didn't graduate high school but received your GED, you can request Alberta Education to send it to us. If you completed your education outside of Canada, you can have your international high school, college, or university transcript assessed by a member of the Alliance of Credential Evaluation Services of Canada and sent directly to RICA. The fourth and final eligibility requirement applies to labor mobility applicants only. If you're licensed in another jurisdiction within Canada or hold a license abroad, you must provide proof of licensure in good standing. Your licensing history must be sent by the regulatory body in your originating jurisdiction directly to RICA, and it must include your disciplinary history. Once all required supporting documents have been received for your eligibility or labor mobility application, your application is complete and will be automatically submitted to our processing queue. The Registration Services team processes applications in the order they are received. We receive between 150 and 200 completed eligibility and labor mobility applications every week. This is in addition to the dozens of other applications we receive, along with managing consistently high call and email volumes daily. You can help the Registration Services team review and process incoming applications and respond to calls and emails in a timely manner by viewing the status of your application and required supporting documents in your MyRECA account instead of contacting us for updates. Once your application is complete and has been submitted to our processing queue, you can expect an email with the outcome of our review within the next several business days. You can view our current processing times on the MyRECA login screen or on the My Applications page of your MyRECA account. Much like the eligibility requirements, the education phase differs depending on your circumstances. New licensees that are not licensed in another jurisdiction must complete pre-licensing education and exams before they can apply for their license. Canadian labor mobility applicants are exempt from pre-licensing education and exam requirements. International labor mobility applicants are exempt from pre-licensing education, but must successfully complete the related exams. All pre-licensing education courses must be completed through a recognized course provider. Pre-licensing exams are developed by RECA and administered by our partner, PearsonView. Please refer to the step-by-step licensing guide that is applicable to your circumstances. Once you have completed the first two phases, the eligibility phase and the education phase, you're ready to move on to phase 3, licensing. If you haven't already, you'll want to meet with a few brokers to find a brokerage that is a fit for you and get your criminal record check, or CRC, underway. When you have found a brokerage and we have received and processed your CRC, your broker will initiate your licensing application for you through MyRECA. The entire licensing process is completed online, and provided there are no suitability matters that the registrar needs to review, your license will be issued automatically in a few simple steps. As a first-time licensee in Alberta, you must provide a current criminal record check, or CRC, to be eligible for licensing. Your CRC must be less than 6 months old at the time you apply for your license. When you're ready to apply for your license, complete the digital CRC application through your MyRECA account. We'll get the results in a couple of days from our partner, Mintz Global Screening, and we'll email you when we've received and processed it. All first-time licensees must demonstrate that they are of good character and are suitable for licensing. Certain events that have taken place in the past may bring your character into question. Events such as bankruptcies, discipline, criminal charges and convictions, and certain civil judgments must be disclosed at the time of licensing and could impact your ability to get a license. If you're concerned about something in your past that may impact your suitability for licensing, you may request an opinion from the registrar as to your suitability. This is called a suitability review. If you choose to undertake a suitability review, your eligibility application fee includes this. We do not recommend that labor mobility applicants request a suitability review. The intention of a suitability review is to avoid the significant financial and time investment in completing pre-licensing education and exams prior to applying for and being refused a license due to suitability concerns. We've included a comprehensive list of resources to assist you along your journey to getting licensed. We've also included our contact information should you need help along the way. As mentioned, we'll email this presentation to you when we've concluded our Q&A session so that you can refer back to this page or any page in the presentation at any time. That concludes our presentation on getting licensed. Thanks for sticking with us. We'd like to take a moment to find out what kind of applicant you are. Please respond to the poll we've initiated and then post any questions you have in the Q&A dialog box. We'll give you a few minutes to respond to the poll and enter your questions before we begin responding.
All right. So thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Christina. I'm joined by Nancy, and I have Rachel online as well, answering just non-live questions. So if you do have any questions, you can post them in our Q&A, and we will answer as many as we can up until the end of the hour, or sooner if we run out of questions. And we will be emailing everyone with that presentation at the end of the webinar. So if you have a question, or maybe your question didn't get answered, you can always respond to that email and we will respond to you. We don't have any open questions yet. So we'll just give you another minute or two and get going. So the first question, can we get licensed even if we are working a full-time job? I mean, it's really up to you to manage your full-time job and the licensing requirements. So that would be more of a question for your broker once you're ready for licensing. And then they can guide you on how many hours are expected of you and everything like that.
Next question is, how long does the whole process take to get a fully qualified real estate agent? So the time involved can vary from person to person. It depends how long it takes you to get us all the documents we need to approve your eligibility application. And then the courses are done online for the most part. And so it's really a self-paced study situation. So there's 2 courses you have to take in order to get a license. So, I mean, you could be as quickly as within a month or 2, or some people take, 6 months per course. It's really very individual, the amount of time that it takes. The eligibility applications we review within about 2 to 10 business days, just depending on our volumes. So it's pretty quick for you to be able to get started on your education once you've provided all your documents.
Were you able to look at an accurate cost breakdown for licensing? So we're not the course provider, so we can't really give you that full information. You can find we have a fee schedule here on our website. And you can search by your industry, and it'll give you a full breakdown of for the most part, the fees. But for a total breakdown, we can't really do that just because, like I said, we're not the course provider. So you'd want to contact the course provider directly for those costs.
Next question. I may be mistaken, but did it say we have to pick an agency before we start our education, or is it after our final exam? So that would be at the end. So you're going to get your eligibility application approved. We'll send you an email once that happens and tell you it's time to enroll in your education. You're going to take the first course, write RECA's exam, take the second course, write RECA's exam. If it's mortgage, there's a third course you have to take. Once your education is complete, you'll get an email that tells you it's time to provide your criminal record check. Once that's approved, you'll get an email that says you're eligible for licensing. And when you get that email, that's when you need to be in touch with the brokerage, because the broker has to hire you and start your licensing application. So at any time between, when you're approaching the end of your education and when you're eligible for licensing, you could start to have those conversations with the brokerage to try to secure employment.
Okay, I think we answered this one before. What's the commitment for the hours for the courses? Are you able to give us an idea of the courses? I believe Nancy did answer that one, but if you want to find who the course providers are and contact them directly, you go to our licensees and learners under the pre-licensing education. And then you would expand those, the relevant industry that you want to start courses in. And then the course providers are all linked. So you just want to click on whichever schooling or all of them, whatever the case may be, and contact them directly just to find out how long those courses are going to take or what the expectation is. And you can also see the average scores there for each course, if that helps you as well.
Next question, what do I need for proof of citizenship if a passport won't work? So a passport is valid government issued photo ID, but we also need a copy of the document upon which your passport is based. And so that's either a Canadian birth certificate, a Canadian citizenship certificate, a Canadian citizenship card, or a Canadian permanent resident card. It has to be one of those 4 pieces of ID. If you've lost track of your document, you're going to have to order a copy from the government or IRCC and wait until you get that document to apply for eligibility. You can't proceed without it.
And I just put the guide up on our screen. So if you have any questions, it's there. It's also found on our website as well. Is the RICA exam that you have to take for your pre-education online or in person? I believe it's for both. That would be a question for our credentialing department. And you can email them at credentialing@rica.ca, or you can find more information. Oops, sorry. Wrong thing. So under our, there's a little bit of information under the pre-licensing education, I believe, but all of the education exams are completed through a third party, Pearson VUE. So you'd want to contact first our credentialing department for further information, and they can either provide you with Pearson VUE, their information, or else I believe there is something on the website, but that would be, again, information from credentialing.
I am specifically curious about becoming a mortgage broker. Will there be some outline about that specific role, and or can something related to this be sent to me? I'm not sure what kind of information you're looking for. The process is the same regardless of the industry. So we regulate real estate, mortgage brokerage, and condominium management. Everybody has to do the same eligibility process. Everybody has to take their pre-licensing education through one of our approved course providers, provide a criminal record check, then get licensed with a brokerage. So the process itself is the same. The thing that varies is the courses. So Christina's pulled up that pre-licensing education page on our website. So you would want to click on the mortgage brokerage section. You have to take the fundamentals of mortgage brokerage and the practice of mortgage brokerage. Those are the core courses. And then you're going to have to take that private lending course before you're eligible for licensing. So the 3 courses would be required before you could get your mortgage license. If you require more detailed information, maybe just shoot us an email to registration@rica.ca and we could address your additional questions or pop them in the chat here.
We do have a contact page. We'll pull that up as well. If you don't know what our email addresses are, if you just go to Contact RICA, we have general consumer industry info, we have hours, registration, and then credentialing@rica.ca. So just depending on what your question is, you can contact the correct person in the correct department. Does a license cover commercial development as well as property management, or would there be further education needed for those fields? So within the pre-licensing education, everyone takes the fundamentals course. And then from there, you choose your practice area. So you can choose residential real estate, you can choose property management, you can choose commercial, or you can choose real estate. The requirement is you complete for real estate fundamentals and then 1 practice course and exam. So if you're wanting to go with commercial, you would complete commercial. If you want to do property management, you would take property management. So just depending.
Or both.
Or both. Yeah. Or all. Or all 4.
May I use a criminal record check that was obtained in 2022 for last employment? You cannot. Your criminal record check must have been completed within 6 months of the date you apply for your license. So that would be expired from our perspective. We recommend you apply for your criminal record check when you're ready to apply for licensing through your MyRECA account. We have partnered with Mint's Global Screening. Those are completed online digitally, and we receive them within about 24 to 48 business hours. You can go to your local police department, but that does add some complexity, and sometimes people have a difficult time getting a document that meets our requirements. It can't pass through your hands, and if you get it in paper, it has to be original. So then you're going to have to mail it or drop it off. So it gets a little bit more complex, but we will accept them that way as well.
Can you describe the differences between condo management and property management? What does a typical day look like for both? Can't really describe what a typical day is. I'm not in the industry for that. But you can see, so the 4 industries, if you go into licensees and learners, and then if you click on the 4 industries, you can actually see what the differences are. So property management is a sector under real estate, but we do have it pulled out for this specific reason. So you can click on that and you can kind of go through what a requirement is to hold a license. And then the same thing for condo management. So you can just look at that for further information, but they are separate, completely separate industries.
Yeah, I think the basic difference is property management is managing like the rental of residences. Condominium management, you're working with condo boards to manage their properties. So it's kind of a different focus for each of those 2 industries. Next question. If I have my high school diploma or equivalent transcripts, can I send this myself, or do I need my previous school district to send you? We require those documents sent directly to RECA from the issuing institution. We will accept digital transcripts. However, they have to either have been sent through an online portal provided by the school or emailed to us directly from the school. They can't pass through your hands. Same goes for any education assessments. They have to be sent directly to us from the institution that did the assessment.
Are there schools that RECA recommends to take the courses through? No, we cannot recommend one over the other. You have to determine for yourself which course provider you want to take and go through. And there is a little document, how to choose a course provider, on the pre-licensing education. It might help you choose one. You can also contact them directly and just find out a little bit more about each of them directly.
Is a post-secondary education 2-year diploma cover the English and education part of eligibility? It may. So if you completed your high school diploma or post-secondary degree or diploma in Canada in English, it would meet both requirements. If you completed your education outside of Canada, it has to be assessed for its Canadian equivalency. If it's equivalent to a Canadian 2-year diploma or degree, it would meet your proof of education requirement. If your assessment also indicates that your program was taught in English exclusively, it likely would also meet the proof of English proficiency requirement. If you did a degree or diploma outside of Canada and it was not taught in English, it would meet your education requirement, but you'd have to do an English proficiency test to meet the proof of education requirement, unless you have another degree or diploma that you completed in English somewhere else or in Canada.
And that can all be found on our guide. Requirement 2 is education standard, as Nancy was saying, and then our requirement 3 is the English proficiency. So just refer there if you do have any specific questions about your specific education, and then go from there. Will you send a recording of the session to attendees? Yes, we always send the recording to all attendees, and actually I don't think the recording is, I'm not too sure, I can't remember, but we do send the presentation. And then the recording can be found always. We will post it on our Become a Licensee page, and then you can just watch the recording there.
What grade would you need on the exam to pass? All of our pre-licensing exams require 70% or better to pass the exam. You get 2 attempts at an exam. If you fail after both attempts, you'll have to retake the course in order to regain another attempt to pass the exam.
Are there any common mistakes students make during the licensing process that I can avoid? Typically, well, the one that we're seeing right now is that our mortgage licensees are forgetting that they need to take the private lending course. before they are ready for eligible for licensing. So just make sure that you are not only doing our fundamentals of mortgage and the practice of mortgage, but that you also have to complete the private lending course. Typically, we do send emails once the process is within that completion timeline. So just make sure that you also watch your emails, and we aren't in your spam or your junk mail.
Yeah, just to build on that, that's super important. You know, we've really focused on just-in-time communication. So you want to make sure that you have a valid email address on your MyRika account and that you're receiving emails from us, because at each phase, we send you an email giving you instructions for the next phase. When you're working on an application, if you have to send us documents or something, we provide you instructions and details. Everything's by email. So super important to keep an eye on your inbox, regardless of whether you're before you're licensed or after you're licensed. How long is your license valid for? Licenses are all licenses in Alberta expire on September 30th every year. So regardless of when you apply for your license, whether it's October the 1st or September the 15th, your license is going to expire on September the 30th. It's definitely something to keep in mind as you approach the last quarter of our licensing year. You really have to make an assessment about whether you want to pay that fee to get your license or just wait until October the 1st. Again, back on the emails, we email you with your licensing deadlines. So it's really a balance between saving the money if you maybe only have a couple of months on your license, but watching your licensing deadlines as well. So your criminal record check is valid for 6 months. If you're not licensed before that expires, you have to do a new one. And your area of practice course, so that practice of mortgage brokerage or practice of residential real estate, whichever one you take, is only valid for 1 year. You have to get licensed within 1 year of passing that exam, or both courses are going to expire. So you kind of have to keep an eye on that and balance that with that September 30th license expiry date.
Is getting your license application completed by your brokerage required, or can you just begin working with doing the application without doing the application? I think that's supposed to say. No, you cannot be licensed without a brokerage. So once you're ready, you're eligible for licensing, that brokerage has to start your new license application. Otherwise you are not licensed. So that is a requirement. It's not a maybe.
I have a valid work permit. Would that be okay instead of PR or citizenship? It is not okay. Actually, you have to be a Canadian permanent resident or a citizen to be eligible for licensing. So you'll have to wait until you attain permanent resident status to proceed. Sorry, not the news you wanted, I'm sure.
Are there in-person classes to help become licensed? I believe they're asking about maybe this. This is the only type of, I guess, help that we give. Just the webinar. If you have any questions, you can always give us a call or email. But typically, like even if you're asking about education, I don't know if the education is given in person or not. That would be a question for course providers, but Rika can help over the phone or on email typically.
Is the license fee for an annual license? Timelines, assume the fees would be prorated. So the first two questions, I feel like I just talked about that. Licensing fees are not prorated. However, we do reduce our fees typically for the last quarter of our licensing year. So from July the 1st until September 30th, you pay a reduced fee, but they're not prorated. So something to think about again, like I explained previously.
And we do have the note effective July 1st in our fee schedule. So if you forget what the quarterly or the end of our licensing year is, you can just go to that fee section and you can do some calculation there. Is there a length of time that you can take to finish the courses once you've started? Does it expire in 1 year? Typically, the course provider will provide that expiration date. Rika does not set that expiration date until you've completed the exam and are ready for licensing. So the course provider would be the one to talk to if you have any questions about the courses.
My birth certificate has my maiden name on it. Now my name is different. How does that work? So you're going to start your MyRika account in the name in which you which you use, then you want to practice. When you're completing the questions to start your MyRika account in your application, it's going to ask if you have a previous legal name. You're going to say yes to that question, and then it's going to prompt you to upload proof of your name change. So you would upload a copy of your marriage certificate, a divorce certificate, a legal name change certificate, one of those documents as proof of your other legal name. And then we just make note of it as a previous name on your account. It would not be included on your license.
And just to add on to that, to those that do have a previous legal name, that is a common mistake. They forget to add that previous legal name to their criminal record check. So we need to see all previous legal names, current legal names to on that criminal record check to be approved. So make sure you don't forget that part too.
Save some money by not forgetting that, because you have to do it again and pay again.
Exactly. We take the pre-licensing requirement through RICA and then go through a course through the University of College of our choice for the course. Not really the pre-licensing, I think what you're thinking of, we prefer the pre-licensing education. We just do the eligibility application. We ensure that you are eligible to enroll in the courses. So if that's what you're referring to as the pre-licensing, then you would first come to RICA and then you would enroll in the courses and not the other way around. I think that answers it.
When you fill in the application, is there a section to send your high school transcript and all your ID to RICA on your own when you're about to submit? So you're going to go through that first time login process referenced in the presentation. Once you complete all of the questions, it sort of builds the document requirements for your application. And then you're going to see when you access your application, a list of each of those documents and the status of each one with a link to upload. You can upload all the pieces of ID in your profile photo, but your proof of education and proof of English proficiency documents have to be sent directly to RICA, and we upload those for you. So you don't even have an upload link for those documents.
Can you pause your license? I've heard once you have the license that you can park your license. That is true. So you can, once you're licensed, you can park your license or cancel your license for up to 3 years. If you pass those 3 years, your pre-licensing education courses will expire, and you will have to do those courses again. If you park your license for over 1 year and less than 3 years, you will have to do a new criminal record check. And you can find the fees again for reinstatement or transferring, depending on when you're ready to come back in our fee schedule.
If someone has gone through insolvency, it may impact their ability to obtain a license. So in insolvency, which would be bankruptcy, consumer proposal, business receivership, something of that nature, is something that you have to report when you apply for your license. It's not typically an issue when we're considering your suitability for licensing, though. So if you're concerned about it, you have the option to complete a suitability review before you go through the eligibility and education pieces of the process. And we'll collect the documents from you and some other information, and the registrar will give you a written opinion as to whether or not he thinks that would be an issue in terms of your suitability for licensing. But like I said, it's not typically an issue. A single insolvency is typically fine.
Can my high school transcript be mailed to RICA instead of emailed? Yep, we accept mail, we accept emails directly from the high school or the other institutions. With the postal strike, you may not want to consider that in that option, but once it's done, we do accept mail.
Would a high school diploma work better than a college diploma, or does it matter? It doesn't matter to us. The basic requirement for the minimum level of education is high school graduation. So by showing a college diploma or a university degree, you have to have graduated high school to obtain those. So we will accept those as well. So any of those things are equal in terms of your eligibility.
Can you get licensed in all areas of real estate? So that's residential, rural, in all areas, not even just real estate, residential, rural, condo, property management. Typically you can. That would be more a question for our information services. They're the ones that would give you any information on conflicts of interest and anything like that. And if you have further questions about that, you can contact them from our info@rika.ca and they'll give you that information.
How quickly have you seen individuals complete each course? We don't know. So I think Christina touched on this earlier. Rika doesn't offer courses and we don't see any information about like when people start the courses or how long it's taking. You'd have to get that information from the individual course providers if they keep track of it. We see you when you approve your eligibility and then we don't see you again until you're writing and passing your exam. So we don't really have any insight into how long it's typically taking people to complete those courses.
Are there pre-study exam packages or help before the actual exam? We do have a test exam that you can take. If you need further information about that exam, you can contact our credentialing at rika.ca and they can give you information. There is a fee to complete that exam, the test exam. So just make sure that you're aware of that. And it is not the final exam. So if you think you've taken the final exam and it was just the practice exam, it's not the right one.
How easy is getting a brokerage to work with? We don't know because we don't really assist people with securing employment. So unfortunately, I don't really have any insight to offer you on that.
How do you get your high school transcripts into Rika? Do you contact the education provider? So Rika does not contact the education provider on your behalf. We don't know who they are. We will not contact them on your behalf. That's not for us to do. You as the applicant need to contact them. So don't make your mom, your dad, your spouse do it for you, your friend. You are the one that needs to contact them directly and have them send it to us by email or by mail. So we don't contact them.
If I get licensed under my maiden name, however, get married shortly after I get a license, how easy is it to change my name? It's pretty easy. You'll just have to log into your MyRika account and you'll see a button there that's notify of a name change. You're going to click that button, answer a couple of questions, upload a copy of your marriage certificate. We'll get kind of an application to change your name and process that. You'll get an email once it's done and then your license is updated. So it's pretty quick.
And if you're not licensed, then you just have to contact us directly and let us know, and then we do it for you. And we start the application for you and get you to upload after. Does my uploaded photo need to be a professional photo? Who sees these photos? I mean, it doesn't have to be professional, but it shouldn't have something like goofy in it or anything like that. I believe your broker will see it. We see it. So you don't want anything not professional, but it doesn't have to be like a headshot, like professionally done or anything like that.
Yeah, you can't be wearing sunglasses or hats. Of course, religious headgear is fine, but it should be like kind of what you see of us in the screen, your head and shoulders. We need to be able to clearly see your face and identify you because it's part of your identification.
And don't have anyone else in the picture. Like if you have a spouse, a dog, I mean, dog's okay. We can tell who the human is, but don't have other people in your photos. We want to see just you.
Do you want me to take that one? I'll take
Sure.
it. How long will it take to review documents? Oh, this is long. I'm not going to read the whole thing. So my documents, Wes. Wes reports do in fact include language of instruction if you request the right assessment because we receive them all the time. So I don't remember which one it is, Christina. Is it course by course that has the language of instruction?
I believe so. I think it's course by course.
Yeah, you might want to check with Wes because they do have an assessment that includes language of instruction if you ask them to. So that's definitely possible. And we are one of the few institutions in licensing bodies for whom they provide language of instruction. Like I said, we receive them all the time. So maybe just get in touch with Wes and make sure that you've requested the correct report to get that on there.
Yeah, I don't think we know exactly which one it is. Otherwise, it would be stated.
It's whatever it is, it's the one that's required for admission to a post-secondary institution. That's the one that includes the language of instruction on it.
Okay, we'll give you a few more minutes to submit any more questions. And again, we will be sending out the presentation. And then if you have any further questions, you can just respond to that email, let us know your questions. You can also find more information by going into the Become a Licensee tab on our website. You can watch the past webinars, find out more information from there, or you can go to our guide.
Yeah, I think we didn't really talk much about the guide. When you pay the application fee for your eligibility or labor mobility application, you get a system generated email as soon as you complete the payment. There's a link to the applicable guide in that email, and we really encourage everybody to download that guide and go through it from start to finish. It's broken into sections for each of the eligibility requirements, and it's basically what we use when we're assessing your documents. So there's no reason you wouldn't be able to know if the documents you're sending us are going to meet our requirements. It's very detailed. So I highly encourage everybody to take a look through that as they go through the process.
Wait, a few more questions. Is there a test that I have to take through RECA? So our final exam for pre-licensing education is done through RECA. If you're asking about like a pre-exam, no. Just the final exams for the pre-licensing courses are through RECA.
Are these questions recorded with answers? I'm not sure what you mean by recorded. We are recording this session and it will be posted on our website within a couple of days. So if you wanted to watch it again, you could do that, or I don't know if you can save a recording. I'm not really sure how that works. But we don't like publish a written Q&A or anything with the answers to this. You'd have to just get it out of the recording.
And that is kind of why we speak the questions, so that you're not guessing what question we're answering, because you can't see them. I missed the eligibility fee. So all of those fees can be found under our licensees and learners, and then our fees if you hover over licensees and learners, and then fees. The eligibility application is $350, and that is again just in here.
Or labor mobility, also $350.
Exactly.
Yeah. Once I make the payment, do I have to wait to start my education? Yes. So you pay your $350 fee. You have to actually provide all the documents, and your eligibility has to be approved before you can enroll in your pre-licensing education. And we send you an email once your application's approved with instructions that explain how to enroll in the courses.
And if the course provider is asking for like proof that you've been approved, you can provide them with that email, and that is your letter of.
Yeah, particularly Nate wants a eligibility letter or something like that. We don't issue letters. The email is what you get that confirms your eligibility is approved.
Yeah. Okay, so we have no more questions. Again, if you have a question that we didn't answer, or maybe you need further clarification, you can email us. But I think we will end it here 10 minutes early. So thank you everyone for joining us. Hopefully we will see you in our queue for our eligibility applications.
See everybody.
You.